Hi guys, welcome back to another off-the-record song tutorial. Today I want to take a look at The Winner Takes It All by ABBA. Let's see what we can learn from this. Now, I know what you're thinking.
ABBA. But they are cornier and cheesier than a corn quesadilla.
Yes, they are. But I love them and I'm man enough to say so. This song is one of their finest. It's only got two sections, verse and chorus, but man, there's a lot going on there. What's really interesting about this tune is the melodic content that's baked into the piano part and how that interacts with the vocal melody. The original key is F sharp major, but the movie and musical versions are both in F, so I'm gonna do it in F because it's much easier to see what's going on. Also, hardly anyone can sing it in Agnieszka's key anyway, so if you play this with a singer, you're usually better off in the lower key. Let's look at the chorus first. Here's the basic 8-bar chord progression. Just a diatonic 1-6-2-5 progression, like a million other songs. So what do they do to make this more interesting? First, melodic content. There's a 4-note motif that starts a fourth up from the chord root and then descends stepwise to the root. This idea is then applied to all 4 chords like this. We can look at this melody as a couple of suspensions that resolve. The first one is the dissonant fourth resolving to the consonant third. And the other one is the dissonant second resolving to the consonant root. Play them back to back. And again, the same thing happens on the other 3 chords. Next, they're adding a syncopated rhythm to this melody, like this. Then the gaps between the melody notes are filled in with arpeggiated chord tones. Notice that our melodic motif always starts on beat 2. On beat 1, they add the 5th of the chord except for the G minor where it's the 3rd. Meanwhile, the left hand plays a 1-5-8 figure at the beginning of every chord change. You may have noticed that there are still 2 blank spaces in the music, in the second half of bars 2 and 4. So what's going on there? Well, they're tonicizing the D minor and G minor chords with secondary dominants. Say what? All that means is that they put a 5 chord in front of the 2 minor chords. It creates extra harmonic steps, it introduces chromatic notes that are outside the key of F major, it increases complexity, and complexity makes things more interesting, if done right. Here's an A chord connecting the F to the D minor. And here's D7 connecting the D minor to G minor. Notice that both chords are in first inversion, which makes them even more powerful. The third, which is the only non-diatonic note in both chords, is emphasized by putting it in the bass. And here's the whole chorus. There's one more thing I want to mention here, and that's the relationship between the vocal melody and the piano part. There's a call and response pattern between the two. Now check out the first 3 notes of the vocal melody. And here's the first bar of the piano part. It's the same thing, right? The piano has a few filler notes in between, but essentially it echoes the vocals. Same thing on the second phrase. And on the third. And just when we thought we could totally predict what's gonna happen, they're surprising us with the last vocal phrase. Let's look at the verse now. It's another 8-bar phrase and another simple diatonic progression. They spice this up a bit by playing the first C chord in first inversion and the G minor chord in second inversion. This creates a stepwise bass line over the 8 bars. Which is much more interesting than if everything were in root position. And then he adds another melody to the piano part. And by the way, these signature melodies show up in other parts of the arrangement too. Backup vocals, strings, guitar, they're everywhere. The rhythm is the same as in the chorus, but instead of a stepwise motif, in the verse we get these neighbor groups embellishing the third or the root of each chord. On the F chord, it's surrounding the third. On the C chord, it's surrounding the root, and it contains a chromatic note, B, which sounds just beautifully dramatic. And on the G minor and second C chord, they're embellishing the third again. So here's the essence of the verse. On each chord, there's a strong consonant target note that is embellished with 2 neighbor notes. And then they fill in the gaps again with chord tones. The exact notes are different every time, so I'll just show you one version here. There's also a couple of 8-bar phrases in the verses where he doesn't play the neighbor group motif, but just arpeggiates the basic chord shapes, like this. Notice that in the verse, just like in the chorus, there's a call and response pattern between the lead vocal and the piano melody, while the chorus piano part is very similar in all the choruses. In the different verses, there's a lot more variation, but the basic motif is still the same. One notable exception being the third verse, which I'm gonna show you next. One of the hallmarks of ABBA arrangements is that there's often more than one acoustic piano part going at the same time. The third verse here is a good example of that. Instead of the arpeggiated melody, he plays these big 2-handed chords in the first part. And then the other part is very similar, except it's an octave higher and also rhythmically shifted to create a call and response pattern with the first part. And that's the gist of it. If you've enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!